Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the city's Heat Detox Webinar Series, Decarbonizing District Heating, hosted in partnership with the Covenant of Mayors. Today's webinar will focus on opportunities for district heating decarbonization in Prague. I am Oksana Krasatenko, Director of Knowledge Transfer at Euroheat Power, and I'm delighted to be joined by Alison Lecor from the Covenant of Mayors Europe and Martin Bursik from the Climate Commission of the Prague City Council. This webinar will be recorded and the slides will be sent out the day after the webinar. You will also be able to ask your questions during the presentations. You can type them in the Q&A section and we will address them after the presentations. Healthy heat in cities means healthy future for Europe. I guess no one can disagree with this statement. And local authorities are at the forefront of the energy transition. As the primary decision makers for project approvals and implementation, they hold the key to creating sustainable urban environments. Therefore, at Euroheat Power, we have decided to support them on this journey and to offer more knowledge-sharing activities on sustainable district heating and cooling. The first edition of the crash course for cities on district heating and cooling took place in Rotterdam last year in June, in conjunction with the Euroheat Power Congress. 20 representatives from the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Croatia, and the UK joined us in Rotterdam to deep dive into EU legislative frameworks, urban energy planning, DHC decarbonization, design scenarios, financing, ownership models, and successful implementation examples. After the crash course, we conducted an evaluation survey, and participants agreed that apart from learning from experts, the most rewarding aspect was connected to networking with other local authorities that are facing similar challenges. These includes gaps in knowledge, limited staff, and resources for heating and cooling planning in line with the Energy Efficiency Directive's obligations, and navigating decarbonization projects to meet the Renewable Energy Directive's requirements. The feedback survey also revealed a strong demand for municipalities for courses like this. They need to hear concrete and inspiring cases, learn about practical tools, software and hardware to develop district heating systems. They highlighted the importance of networking opportunities between cities to share experiences and best practices. Also discussing the role of citizens and how we can engage them in this journey. And in response to this demand, we are excited to announce the second edition of the Crash Course for Cities, which will take place in Prague, Czech Republic, in conjunction with our upcoming Euroheat Power Congress there. What can you expect? First of all, one full day of learning designed especially for city and government officials. Topics will be reviewed in comparison with last year, taking into account the key challenges of local authorities in this region. Of course, we warmly welcome municipalities from across Europe who are facing the heat decarbonization challenge. So one day of learning, provisionally 2nd of June, will be followed by a networking dinner reserved for city officials only. And the next days, from the 3rd to the 5th of June, municipalities and city representatives will be welcome to join the Euroheat Power Congress for free. And this will include technical site visits, large exhibition, and plenty of policy-related and technical sessions. They will promote opportunities for networking with the larger district heating and cooling community. And we are happy to partner with the Covenant of Mayors Europe and local NGOs in the organization of this crash course for cities, especially in the context of their ongoing Cities Heat Detox campaign. which will be presented at this webinar. It's my pleasure now to introduce Alison Lecor from the Covenant of Mayors Europe, who will explain us the city's Heat Detox campaign, its origins and goals. And my first question to Alison will, of course, be how did you come up with such a brilliant name for your communication campaign? Alison, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Oksana. Hi, everybody, and thank you for having me. So to answer your question, actually, not maybe as one would expect, but I came up with the detox name while I was at a yoga detox class. So I know it's probably not very yogi or detox of me to be thinking about work during a yoga class, but we had been talking all day about the health benefits of heat decarbonization and thinking of names, and then it just clicked in the moment. So from there, everything kind of came out. And as I was cleansing myself of toxins, I thought, well, cities need to do the same. So here we are with our campaign, the city's Heat Detox, which I'm presenting today. For context, and for those who don't know the Covenant of Mayors, we're a European initiative gathering over 11,000 signatories that have committed to the EU's energy and climate targets. These are local authorities who sign a political commitment and then develop action plans to reduce emissions, also adapt their territories to climate change, and address energy poverty. So every year we run campaigns. We run campaigns that are on EU policy priorities. And the idea of these campaigns is really to connect the policy priorities with the local actions and what cities are doing on the ground, and also raise awareness around opportunities and sharing experiences between our very large community of cities and towns of all sizes and at all different stages of the journey. So this year's campaign, focused on the gas phase out, is about heat decarbonization. And it's really inspiring cities and towns to move away from fossil fuels in their heating systems for a healthier and more secure future for all. You'll see here on this slide some of the materials that we've been promoting on our social media regarding the city's heat detox, which really focuses, as the name suggests, on the health aspect of decarbonizing heat in cities. And what does this mean? It means health, of course, directly when we talk about air quality. So detoxing a city of its toxic sources is important for the air quality in cities. This is a big point that not everyone is aware of. And then also health in terms of the strength of the economy in a city. So a detox and a heat decarbonization is going to reinforce the energy efficiency, the economy in terms of its structure, and making it more modern and more circular. And then lastly, we talk about health also in terms of the communities. So resilience in communities that are able to face crises, as we've seen recently, that don't depend on the toxic sources coming from abroad. And so communities that are stronger and more secure. So those are really the three main pillars of the heat detox and what we mean when we're talking about healthy heat for cities. What concretely, what can cities do to detox their heat? And the campaign is also promoting the different steps in a city's heat detox, as one would if they're doing a detox, a personal detox. First and foremost, it's important to know what you are putting in your body and what are these toxic sources. The same way cities, it's important for them to know and map out their heating systems, what the sources are and the possible alternatives, and where they can have a bigger impact and an impactful detox journey. So here we are promoting all the efforts that cities are doing in planning for their heat decarbonization journey, in line with the obligation of the EED to have heating and cooling plans for cities over 45,000 inhabitants. So here we're sharing different stories of cities that have very elaborate, already done this work, very elaborate heat maps where they show where they will be expanding district heating, where the different where citizens can connect to district heating, or what other possibilities they have for healthier heat, and where they also plan out their journey. The second step to the detox is then trying to go for a full city detox. So as one would try to maybe go for a full body detox, a full body cleanse, here the idea is that cities, by expanding, developing, or renovating district heating networks, can have the most impact in undergoing and really getting rid of these toxic sources. So here we're also shedding light on different examples of cities that are either starting off with the district approach, such as Leuven, or expanding the district heating networks they have, and those also that are refurbishing and renovating and making them more modern. And thirdly, and not most importantly, also, once you have these networks and are going for your full city approach, when you know the alternatives, it's really finding these clean sources of heat to feed your district heating systems. So that's the cleansing part of the detox. And here, the campaign is also trying to showcase with this idea of detox, the different mixes that cities have that are very particular and unique to each city's capabilities and their territories and what they have at hand. So here you'll see a few examples of cities' detox. What is the base they use? District heating, district cooling, heat pumps, and what are the clean sources that they use to feed that heating? So geothermal, waste heat, solar thermal, or large-scale heat pumps. So we even have a tool here that when you get the slides later, you can click on it and explore, where each city can kind of put together their own detox mix and share it. And with each case study we have, we're also sharing the unique mix of that city. Because this is really what the campaign's about. It's about sharing experiences. So as we have this map here where you can see we have more than 20 cases of heat detox journeys across Europe, but there it's open to submission for more cases, where we really tell the stories, what particular challenges the cities are facing, what they've identified for their detox and the different steps they're taking. So here you can explore in this map and kind of get an overview of what cities are doing across Europe in terms of detoxing heat on a large scale. So our campaign, as I said, is about sharing stories, and for that, I just call to you to share your story if you have one that you would like to see on the map. We have two ways of doing this. Either you can apply to the Covenant of Ward, which the applications close soon, but there's still a bit of time and there's a series of questions and then a few extra information that you can give if you want the application to become a case study and it to be featured on our website. And if you don't want to apply to the award, or if it's too late, you can also submit your story via template. That's all available in this comms package for cities that we have on our website. And another way of participating in the campaign is also echoing the messages that I presented. And here we have a comms package also for our website, on our website for partners or for anyone who wants to raise awareness around the benefits of decarbonizing heat, the importance of district heating in this effort. And you can also subscribe to the campaign to receive regular updates, because as Oksana said, we are sharing all the opportunities that we have identified through all our campaign partners for capacity building and for empowering cities in this journey, including the crash course that will take place in June and other webinars leading up to it. So without further ado, I leave the floor now to Martin, who will present their unique detox and detox efforts in Prague, so that we directly hear from one of our cities.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alison. If I may, I'll just say a few words. Thank you for this wonderful initiative, for this campaign. Euroheat Power is proud to be official partner of this campaign, so amplifying messages and feeding you with great examples. We have already initiated some activities with cities. We also had very nice webinars on cities decarbonization stories last year. Leuven was featured and Rotterdam. So I invite you to rewatch these webinars and also get inspired by them. And as Alison mentioned, this is the first webinar in a series of webinars leading up to the crash course. So please keep an eye on the next cities that will be featured. And if you have some ideas or examples that you would like to share, feel free to reach out to us. And another reminder to our participants, feel free to ask your questions or send any comments you have during the presentation. So don't wait until the end. You can do so in the Q&A section. And indeed, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Martin Bursik, Chair of the Climate Commission of the Prague City Council, who will present ambitions and projects of the city of Prague. And just a few words about our presenter. Martin is an environmentalist, a climate and renewable energy expert. He chairs the Climate Commission of the Prague City Council since 2019 and leads the expert team that developed the Prague Climate Plan 2030, with the goal of 45% CO2 emission reductions by 2030 and achieving climate neutrality by 2050 at the latest. Among other roles, Martin is also a president of the European Renewable Energy Federation since 2022. And Martin, I think without further ado, I would like to leave the floor to you and your very interesting presentation.
Thank you, Oksana. Good morning, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be part of this, and thank you, Alison, for such a motivating introduction of your campaign. Of course, City of Prague has signed the Covenant of Mayors, and I find the similarity of detox and the moment you find at your yoga course, and also the way you connected energy and heat production with the house. That's something which is very close to my heart because of being an environmentalist working in the renewable energy field for dozens of years. So thanks again for the opportunity. I'm going to present the case study of the city of Prague that I was already introduced. I'm chairing the climate commission of the council of the city, and I was the head of a small team which developed the climate plan, which I'm going to describe to you as well. Just an introduction of Prague, because you were already invited by Oksana for next June Euroheat Power the Congress in Prague. So just for you to know, suppose most of you have been to Prague. Nevertheless, it's a city of around 1.5 million inhabitants with the highest life expectancy. It's a very high quality of life. The experts love it there. It's a very safe city. You can use a public transport, which is very cheap and effective. And nevertheless, of course, there are many issues which we inherited even from a communist past, and which needs to be addressed. We were surprised when we realized that Prague belongs to, according to the Husqvarna index, which is quite funny, the producer of these grass cutters and that technologies, they set up the index, which is a more smart way identifying the level of how the city is green, so that the green areas are affordable, are not just in the surroundings, but are also in the center of the city. So this is where we are. This is what you can be looking for in June next year. We developed the Prague Climate Plan, which, as it was said, has got a target of reducing the greenhouse gas emission, the CO2 equivalent emissions, by 45% till 2030. we followed the IPCC special report, which was published after Paris agreement, successful Paris agreement. What is interesting, when the Prague climate plan was adopted in the city assembly, there were environmental NGOs there, and Fridays for Future representative was quite negative towards the 45% reduction, and he was saying that European Union has got a Fit for 55 already, so that the plan is not updated. However, that was a kind of misunderstanding, because our reduction of 45% is compared to 2010, and a 55% reduction of a Fit for 55 is compared to 1990. As you see, these Central and Eastern European countries, which got rid of the communist regime and transformed into a liberal economic model in the early 90s, in our case in November 1989. So there was a serious reduction of emissions in the first period. So in fact, this is showing that 45% compared to 2010 is more than 55% compared to 1919. You see the 74 million tons to meet by 2030 compared to 90 million tons. So to stress it, Prague is more ambitious than Fit for 55 target, in fact. Of course, the first thing you do when you want to set up a target, so then you calculate your footprint. And for the reference year of 2010, we did it in a team, and we were extremely surprised by the fact that electricity and heat, so these are the media which are imported to the city, and we can hardly do something with it. So they cover almost 60% of all the footprint. So we have a very high carbon intensity of electricity production in the country, and of course, cities like Prague and other cities are always dependent on the input of energy, from the outside. So this is our starting point. What to do? We sort of inherited a district heating network, which is very dense. It's almost 700 kilometers in Prague. You see on a picture that the yellow is covered by gas sources. The other color is unfortunately coal. So you see that coal and waste, it dominates in a central heating system, and the, let's say, carbon heat, coal heat, is delivered to Prague from the power plant, heat plant, which is 34 kilometers out of Prague. It was built in 1960, then modernized. It's been delivering the heat to Prague since 1995, and so the carbon intensity of the heat is the highest possible. Running on lignite. It is in the ownership of Czech Energy Works. The problem of the city, it's a very sensitive issue, is that on one side of a tube you have a heating plant which is owned by the dominant Czech Energy Works, partly state-owned company, and the other end of the pipe is Veolia, which also has got no connection with the city. So though the name of a utility is called Prague Heat Utility, Prague doesn't have any influence on it. There is a contract in between these two companies, which is even unknown. The only thing we know is that this is going to last until 2034, and we also know that there is a plan to switch the power plant Mělník from coal to gas. So this is where we are. So we were, of course, very much thinking how to get to this reduction of 45%. You see the Sankey diagram, which shows what can we do in the electricity part and natural gas, liquid fuels and heat. So this is where we got. And here you see the potential. The highest potential, of course, is in energy and in housing and building stock. And what we did is that there is a number of Excel sheets of calculation, so that we tested if we are really were able to reach this 45%, and we got it. As you can see, almost 40% potential is in sustainable energy and buildings, and a dominant part heat and electricity. The Prague Climate Plan is it's also available in English on the web page of called climate.prague.com, and the climate plan consists of concrete 69 measures in 4 areas: in the area of sustainable energy, mobility, circular economy, and adaptation to climate change. And we have some, call it lighthouse projects, through which we want to show the innovation, to get the citizens of Prague on our side, to get business on our side, to be clear that the change is possible. So just to mention some of them, we found the Prague Renewable Energy community, and we already are sharing the surpluses of renewable electricity from one side to another, and others. And then we were, because of having very limited options how to influence the primary source of these dominant source of central heating, we started the project preparation of a new an energy center, we call it, which is going to be built in a location of central wastewater treatment plant, which treats 93% of all wastewater of the city. Out of 1.4 million residents, and we are expecting that the population of Prague is going to rise. So this wastewater treatment plant will be modernized. The capacity will increase, and there is wastewater, which is you see on a map that it's on an island on the Vltava River. So it's a fantastic location of wastewater treatment facility, and the water which is leaving the process of wastewater cleaning has got a temperature of 10 degrees centigrade higher in average than the temperature of the Vltava River. So there is a big potential, and the flow of water is 3 cubic meters per second. So we started to work on a project which to build industrial heat pumps to this location. The potential of it is 180 megawatts with a water of a temperature of 90 degrees centigrade. Just to compare it with the existing source run on coal, this could cover 1/3 of the energy delivered so far by coal. So this is not negligible. We visited with a team of experts and also politicians. We visited Helsinki, we visited Stockholm to see where these industrial heat pumps are already in operation for dozens of years. And then also Vienna. The picture down there on the right is just the picture of the installation of a industrial heat pump in Vienna. The project, the first phase of the project already started. The picture on the left below, it's just an imagination. It doesn't exist yet. It's a new building of the Czech Philharmonic, which will also be on a bank of the Vltava River. And on the right side, on the upper right side, you see the visualization of the these energy center, that covered with the grass next to the wastewater treatment plant. The issue is how to get with the clean, renewable heat to the grid, and this is a big question because according to the Renewable Energy Directive, the operator of a central heating has got an obligation to feed in to connect the heat which is produced either from renewable energy or ambient heat or waste heat. However, in reality, this directive was transposed into the Czech legislation only with respect to the first part. That means renewable heat, but not the heat which is produced by the waste. This is just an example of the power of existing utilities which are running the heat on either coal or they are switching to gas. This is also important to mention that Czech Republic is in a phase where transforming from coal to gas, and as Czech Republic is one of the 10 countries of EU 27 which according to the European legislation, has got a so-called modernization fund, so the very robust economic vehicle, where 4% of a turnout of EU ETS in Europe is then shared among 10 countries, and so this is a very robust vehicle for decarbonizing and innovations in the country. However, the sub-program Heat, where there is which should help the operators of and the utilities providing central heating. So within this program, only projects from coal to gas have been approved so far. Not a single project for industrial heat pumps. So we are very much pushing with my team to explain the politicians and the people responsible for central heating and for energy policy to explain that we are one generation behind. And I'm right now here, I'm in a next door there is running an international conference on industrial heat pumps, which is also one of the initiatives to show that there is this kind of possibility. These are technical details which you can then read out of the slides which you will be provided, but you see that the factor will be close to 370,000 megawatts of electricity demand. We want to sign a PPA contract with the wind farm, so that to have a clean electricity, because we know that the profile of electricity production from the wind farms is very in line with the profile of the need of electricity for the industrial heat pump. So wind is the best renewable source to be connected with the heat pump operation. And then we have a calculation of natural gas savings and the year of implementation. Another project, which is at the very side, it's already in operation. It's a pilot project of producing a biomethane from sludge cars, but not just biomethane, but also we cleaning the biomethane to bio-CNG. There is a production of 1 million cubic meters per year. It's just a pilot. What is interesting that then you see the red line on a map down there. So this is how we connected the biomethane station to the grid. So the bio-CNG is pumped to the grid, and then the issue was the biomethane has got a lower content of energy. So according to the Czech legislation, there was a necessity to so-called propanize it, so to mix it with propan, so that it has got the same energy content as a fossil natural gas, which is a crazy idea. You have a clean biomethane, which is from renewable source of energy, and then you mix it with propane, which is a fossil gas. So we did it the other way around. We made a mathematical model which is showing, the hydraulics, and then it, calculates the content of energy in every cubic meter which is delivered to a certain place. So this is how we avoided to mix the renewable biomethane with fossil propane. And the third, last but not least project, which is also under the preparation, is a use of geothermal energy out of the underground line. Prague is now has started to build the new metro line 1D, and the idea and the project is about using a geothermal energy out of the underground. There are two ways of how the tunnels and stations are being built. Either they are embossed or they are done from the surface, and these are the examples which are showing that there are two linings, one next to another, and in an internal secondary monolithic lining, it can be assembled with the energy mat, where we're going to collect the energy and then using it through geothermal, through the heat pumps, for surface heating and cooling. So this is showing, how the absorbed pipe is being connected to the lining, and we have also examples from underground in Vienna. There is also an example from underground station in London, and we cooperate with the experts on tunnels, tunnel building, who got also experience from Austria. The pilot project is one of the stations which will collect the energy from the tunnel, also from the station, and also from the ventilation, from the vents of the stations. So we're expecting to so you see on the right upper right picture, you see the ventilation tunnel, and we expect that we can get something like 1.5 megawatts. So it's a serious pilot. The development plan, which is being developed by the city of Prague, shows the need of the energy, which is much, much, much higher than what we develop here. But just we want to show that this could be something, a natural part of any projections where whatever constructions are being projected under the ground. So then, of course, there is the potential of geothermal heat to use it and to substitute, the fossil, and to offer the citizens a clean detox heat. So thanks very much for your attention. Of course, I'm prepared to answer your questions if I am able. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Martin. And yes, please send your questions in the Q&A so we can address it while Martin is still with us, because he will need to leave soon for the panel debate at the conference on industrial heat pumps that he mentioned that is taking place next door. Fantastic. I was really, really interested in your presentation, Martin. So if I understand correctly, the current energy mix in the heating sector in Prague is not very clean. So basically coal and gas. When you also mentioned waste, is that waste incineration facilities supplying?
Yes, there is a waste incinerator, and according to the waste directive, there are the targets for recycling. So Prague also starts to build a biogas station. So we will have another source of energy. A biogas station will be equipped by a bio-CNG production, and the bio-CNG will also be pumped into the gas. So we will be sort of, detoxifying a gas in the grid, at a level of percent, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And so continue on this cities heat detox theme. If you were to draw a perfect detox heat mix for Prague, which sources would you draw, and in which proportions do you see them?
But what is interesting that, if not only that, Prague heat has got this high carbon intensity, but it's the most expensive heat in the country. Naturally, the behavior of the energy utilities is that the Prague citizens are the most rich, within the country, as everywhere. The citizens of the cities are, have got the highest incomes. So and if we compare it there is an example of the city which some 20 years ago switched 100% into biomass, and the cost of their heat is at the level of less than 2/3 of the heat in Prague. So, for the smaller cities, of course, biomass, which, has to be sustainable, and that's a lot about, the distance of the collection harvesting and transporting the primary material, the biomass to so I see the limits with respect to biomass, for the city of such a size. So our idea is to identify all potential of geothermal heat which is available. So first of all, we have the river. So there is not just this incinerator, but for example, the National Theatre, the building which almost everyone knows was in Prague. So the National Theatre is equipped with the heat pumps and is using the potential of Vltava River water for heating and cooling the National Theatre. There's another project of increasing the installed capacity. We have number of data centers. We can collect the waste heat, from many facilities. So this, lumped low temperature potential to use it as much as possible. Then, of course, the EP, the Energy Performance Building Directive, was adapted. So we know that all the new construction, new developments will have to follow the rule of a zero emission buildings. So a low consumption of energy will have to be covered by either renewable energy or energy delivered by energy communities. And then there will be a huge program of renovating all the buildings, and then there is a potential of energy savings, smart regulation. I wonder that some of the buildings and owners and tenants who are now connected to the central heating, if the utilities will not react and will not detox it, as and at a certain level, so then it could be that the citizens and the users will disconnect, which is something which we do not like. But to be very frank, if I am asked to give a suggestion to those who are connected to the central heating now, which is run on coal, so I would then frankly say that's the most carbon intensive heat, and it's most expensive heat. So I would suggest them to look for the options. So we will see how it develops, and we should also take into account that the Commission already started the discussion about the new target of reducing the greenhouse gas emissions by 90% till 2040. And we will hardly fit there with gas. So we really need to change the attitude and not to consider natural gas as a bridge, from coal to renewable era anymore, because the clocks are ticking, and 2040 is behind the doors, and we will get rid of coal, but the natural gas can cause us the problems in 2040.
Yes, it's clear. So from what I understand, the potential is definitely there. You mentioned you have some sustainable biomass potential, geothermal heat, waste heat. I'm glad to hear that you also consider data centers, because they actually hold the biggest potential in terms of waste heat outcome from the processes. So whenever you have a data center, it's really advisable to connect to a district heating network. And yeah, energy savings, definitely. So your ideal detox city heat detox mix looks very, very bright in the future.
I didn't mention, I'm sorry, I didn't mention one thing, Czech Republic, is very strong in a heat pump production. Really, because we have the industrial tradition, and many companies moved their R&D and also production to the Czech Republic. And just a week ago, Panasonic announced that they are going to produce the larger heat pumps with the higher installed capacities, also for block of houses, and for the not just for individual houses, but for housing estates with a higher installed capacity. So I think there's going to be a really change, because the efficiency of heat pumps is it's a great advantage of this technology compared to any other. So in my eyes, the combination of energy savings, renewable energy, and heat pumps is the future of heating and cooling, because unfortunately, due to the climate crisis, we will need a climate cooling as well.
Definitely, but we are obviously talking about large scale heat pumps in this context for a large city like Prague. Martin, we received a question. Could you please elaborate a little bit more on the setting of ownership, operator, contracts, etc., of the district heating system in Prague? So who owns the heat production facilities, the distribution network, the city, Veolia? You mentioned that nothing belongs to the city currently. So just if you could explain it once again to understand better the setting of the utility in the context of the CO2 reduction goals.
Yes. So the Mělník power plant, 34 kilometers out of Prague, is in the ownership of Czech Energy Works, which is the semi-state utility. 67% of shares, 67% shareholder is the state, and the rest are individual shareholders, and the network and within the Prague, which I describe as almost 700 kilometers of a network, and is in the ownership of Veolia company. So we, as a city of Prague, we are trying to, and the mayor of Prague is responsible for energy. So it's the strongest personality in the city responsible for energy. So it's a good moment. So the issue is, to open a dialogue about the future, and which so far is very complicated, because the legislation is also not on the side of the city, as I described when I was trying to explain how difficult it will be to deliver and to get the clean future heat from energy center based on a industrial heat pump to the grid, because based on the legislation, there is no obligation of the operator of the grid to accept this heat. So we will see. There are two ways. One way is to find the mutual agreement, which would be the best, so that all the partners understand the necessity of decarbonizing the heat. The other option is that the renewable energy directive will be transposed in a proper way, as it should be, and then we will be backed by the legislation. So these two options.
Thank you for the answer. So ownership model that needs to be probably addressed and discussed. And if you were to recommend some topics for our crash course for cities on district heating and cooling in Prague, what would you recommend? What would it be? What do you think the city officials or governmental officials need to learn?
Well, I think it's important is to get out of box, to start to look at the issue from the different angle. And though the central heating systems are a robust big things, and when you start to think about projects like getting 1.5 megawatts of geothermal heat from the underground, it's almost negligible compared to the delivery of the heat from central heating system. But step by step, project after project, this will change. So really, I think it's what I suggest and what I do, all my expert life is to follow the trends, and the trends now are very clear. The cheapest sources of electricity is wind and solar. The cheapest source of and the cleanest source of heat are heat pumps. So whenever you can combine, and of course efficiency, the cheapest energy that is just not being produced, of course, which is safe. So a combination of these factors, and to identify all the complete potential which is within the city. One thing which I did not mention is that we are also opening a dialogue with the developers, and we are the intention of the city is to sign a voluntary agreements with the developers that they will go beyond the EPBD directive, and then they will do more, because it's a win-win strategy. The city they will be participating on meeting the climate target of the city, and at the same time the developers can then show their clients that they are partners of the city in meeting the fulfilling the climate plan. So it will be a win-win strategy. So we are now in a period of organizing the dialogue with the developers, so that they are also identifying their potentials within the new development, if they can go further and offer more, that is being asked by the existing or upcoming legislation.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Martin. I promise to let you free to join the panel discussion in the conference about industrial heat pumps and district heating. Thank you so much for your very interesting presentation. We look forward to following the progress of these projects that you described. Hopefully, when we come to Prague, we can check in and maybe visit some of the sites, some of the facilities, and we of course look forward to having you at our crash course for cities. And please spread the word about this possibility. Thank you so much. With that, I would like just to let Martin go.
Yes.
But Alison, just a few sentences. What are your impressions from this presentation? What is your what are your conclusions? What maybe new thoughts you have? What would you like to feature in your campaign? Did it sound inspiring for other cities? How do you think?
I mean, I think the cities will be those who can say how inspiring it is and if it spoke to them. But on our from our point of view, I really kind of keep the step by step, project by project. We'll find the way. And this idea that I mean, the detox, of course, what we're trying to showcase with the different cities detox is the general detox of the whole city, but that goes with little small detoxes, little projects here and there, and trying to piece this together and overcome all these big challenges that there are, which, as we can see, there are a great number in Prague to overcome still, but hopefully the trends and the just legislation will set the framework so that they can advance in the right direction, and quick enough. So that's really what I kind of go like I leave the presentation with that in mind, and I hope the other cities too. And looking forward to also being in Prague and kind of seeing some of these projects firsthand and exchanging with other cities also, and their challenges and their projects and solutions.
Thank you, Alison. Indeed, that was the first webinar in our series. So if you would like to hear more from other cities, other decarbonization stories, other innovative project examples, please drop us a line suggesting or even offering to present at our webinar. Of course, we prioritize city officials and the municipality representatives. We would like to talk to them because they also need to learn from each other and they need to express their point of view. So please stay tuned to our next webinars. And just to repeat the call for action, support the Cities Heat Detox campaign by promoting it on social media, at your events. If you have some stories to tell, please apply for the Covenant Awards and save the date for the upcoming Crash Course for Cities and Euroheat Power Congress in Prague from the 2nd to the 5th of June 2025. Registrations will be open early next year, but if you already saved the date and planned some budget for the travel and accommodation in Prague, that would be fantastic. The Crash Course and the Congress is free for city officials and municipalities. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Alison, for your excellent contribution to this webinar. And I look forward to keep in touch and to develop next episodes of this series.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.